The problem we have is that we are using things outside of its purpose. Everything is being used outside of its purpose. Then that's what creates chaos.
We are created as human beings to serve each other. Without each other, there is no world. But how we choose to serve each other, that's the free will that we have.
You think free will exists?
Yeah, 100%.
So where does God play in that?
When you enjoy something, you can work overtime and you won't feel it. Like, for example, for you, Joel, you're very good at like understanding forms of psychology and stuff like that when it comes to having conversations. If someone goes and studies that, but they're not interested in it, and they go out into the workforce, they're not going to be able to surpass you because it's not that gift, it's not that calling. But for you can do it whatever you want to do. You can turn it off and on, right?
Right.
So it's like play.
There's a quote that says, you will never get criticized by somebody doing better than you.
100%. I've had great mentors along the way, and they just wanted to teach me. Like, I didn't ask them. They know that the workload is unbearable, and if you're willing to accept it, I'm here to help you get to this level.
Joel Benishi here, and we're back again for another beautiful episode. We're gonna get this episode kicking and rolling for you guys. You know how it is. The Discovery Podcast is all about fulfillment. It's all about bringing fulfillment to your desk and helping you discover a guest from different angles. And today we've got a special guest with us. Someone with over 70,000 followers all across social media. A good friend of mine, Hervé. Talk to me. How are you, my brother?
Hey Joel, thank you for having me, man. Like, we've known each other for a very long time, and I just want to say thank you to your team and to yourself for having me here today. The presentation is phenomenal. It's amazing, and I'm glad to be here.
Man, you express yourself so elegantly, man. I love that, man. Like, so we've known each other since maybe middle school, but from the viewers watching, they don't quite understand who you are and what your journey is. So you want to start by introducing yourself. Who is Hervé?
Who is Hervé? He's a creator, a designer, and a visionary.
What do you mean by visionary?
Being able to bring things into fruition just from my visions.
That's pretty deep. So you grew up in how many brothers and sisters? What's your upbringing like?
4 brothers, 4 sisters. Middle child.
You're the middle child?
Yeah.
Do you have the middle child syndrome?
100%.
What's the middle child syndrome?
I'm being left out.
Oh. What do you mean by that? So how was your childhood? Do you have what's the most defining moment of your childhood?
The most defining moment of my childhood is when we left Congo, and I'm pretty sure I was 3 years old, and we moved to Uganda.
Yeah.
And we basically started from scratch, and for some reason I was highly aware of my surroundings, and that's when I started questioning myself, what is my purpose here on earth? Because at the moment we didn't have like toys or anything to distract ourselves from the situation we were in.
Yeah.
So I'd ask myself deep and meaningful questions because that's all I had.
How old did you say you were?
3.
As a 3-year-old?
Yeah.
You're asking yourself the meaning of life?
Yeah, one more here.
Shalugu.
I was sitting on the concrete in the sun, and I'm just thinking, what are we doing here? How did I get here? What's the purpose? Yeah.
What findings did you find as a 3-year-old?
What findings?
Yeah.
I found like every time I give service, it doesn't have to be in terms of an object. It can be just a listening ear, words of affirmation, and things of that sort. Because we needed each other in that specific time. After the war in Congo, we needed each other, and it wasn't in forms of like material things, but faith and all this kind of stuff.
So, let's track back. You left Congo at a young age. You're 3 years old. You're the middle child. You're there in Uganda, in poverty. You said? No,
I said lower class. Yeah.
Lower class. So obviously there's some struggles you guys are going through.
Yep.
And as a kid, you don't have any toys to play with.
Yep.
Which in the Western world would be this. I would describe that as poverty, right? No toys for kids. It's seen as poverty. And you're in that state, and your mind starts thinking. You're becoming quite aware of your surrounding as a 3-year-old.
Right.
And then, how did you end up in Australia?
Through immigration.
Yeah. So you go through the process of immigration. God creates a way. Well, I don't know if God created a way. I don't know.
100%. Because I remember again at 3 years old, we had friends who were going to America, And we went to their house. We helped them pack and everything.
Yeah.
And these jeeps came in. Like there was 5 black jeeps that came in and picked them up, and they left. And I remember going back home, and my mom was like cooking food, and I told mom like, how come they left? How come they left us behind? When do we get to leave the situation? She's like, with faith and hard work, all is possible. And that stayed with me for the rest of my life.
With faith and hard work.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
Faith and hard work is having the faith that something's going to work. And faith is something that doesn't present itself in physical form, but you believe that it's going to happen. Deep down in your spirit, you know it's going to happen. And then you have to apply that work to make it happen as well. You don't just sit there and wait for it. You use the resources and the abilities that you have and the skills that you have to actually make it happen.
This is actually a controversial topic because a lot of people say if you have faith, then you don't need to do work.
No,
then you can actually sit there and things will manifest.
That is not even faith, because faith propels action.
Faith propels action.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
If you believe something's going to work, you're going to go out and make it happen.
So do you have faith in God or do you have faith in yourself making it happen?
In God, because I am a creation of God.
That's a bit of a dance right there. You have faith in God, but then you stand up and make it happen. So where does God play? Which part of it does he play in?
He gave me a body, he gave me health, he gave me intelligence, he gave me the ability to foresee things, like I told you, I'm a visionary. So these are all gifts from God. I did not earn them.
Yeah.
And so I'm using them in service of God.
Okay. So what I'm picking up from your understanding is that God created you as a being and gave you all these gifts. So when you have faith in the creation that God has created. That's why you stand up and get that and go and do the things you want to do.
Yeah, because when I pray for something, I've already got it. I just need to move towards it.
That kills the whole gesture of what religion has taught us about prayer. Prayer is usually when I grew up in a religious background, and in Christianity when they talk about prayer, mostly, especially in the Congo, because I'm from Congo as well, it means to beg. That's really what it means.
Right.
It means, that's not what prayer means to me, but that's what I grew up with. It was a form of begging. It was like, okay, close your eyes and beg for God to bring us some sort of miracle out of nowhere.
Right.
And maybe that's why Africa is struggling. Maybe that's why we're struggling, because we're looking for someone outside of ourselves to make it happen.
Exactly. And we've been given all the resources. As you know, Africa is rich with resources.
Yeah.
So what's happening with that, you know? You've got to ask yourself, why aren't we not actually taking action in terms of what we already have underneath our feet?
So what actions can Africa take that you think will propel them into?
Entrepreneurship. Obviously seeing what we already have and figuring out a way to refine whatever we have, if it's resources, if it's a raw material, whatever. Refining it and, you know, making it and bringing it out to the market.
What do you say to people that say, oh yeah, I don't have the money to make it happen?
Well, I see that as an excuse, to be honest. You can start from nothing. If it means like selling something that's worth $1, you can begin from that.
So it's a complete excuse for anybody to say that I don't have money to make it happen.
Yeah, because human beings, like when it comes to economics, we know that value comes from human to human. It doesn't come from money. So when I'm paying for something, I'm paying for your service. Money is just a transactional way to keep a note of what it is I'm doing for you. And that's why gold was valuable at one point. Spice was valuable at one point. Shells were valuable at one point. So money isn't the actual thing that makes things move. It's the value within the people themselves. So finding value within yourself.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Finding value within yourself is what makes the world move.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Finding value within yourself.
Yeah.
So it's self-love.
I don't know if I consider it self-love, because I mean some days you do get up and you don't feel like you're satisfied, but knowing that you have a job to do, you'll just do it regardless of how you're feeling. Because Joel, what is love to you? What is the meaning of this word?
Love?
Yeah.
I actually don't know. I've gone through ups and downs in terms of what it actually means. What I've come to an understanding is that it's to be here, present. And I don't see any form of love unless you're present. experiencing the here and the now.
Okay.
So to be present in the here and now, in acceptance of what is,
Mm-hmm.
that is love. So let's say, for example, if you're in a relationship with somebody, another external person, the moment you realize and you accept that this is who I am with here and now, and you don't attach yourself to the past and you don't prepare yourself to the future, only then you can truly be in love with the individual.
Amazing. Amazing. So it sounds like love is truth.
Truth? What do you mean by that?
Truth is you have to be present. You're constantly present. What happened in the past is what happened in the past. The only truth is what's happening right now, right?
Do you believe in a objective truth?
In terms of like something that everyone understands.
Correct.
Yeah, 100%. The sun comes up every day. That's an objective truth, isn't it?
Mm. So then your take of love is truth. I'm just trying to really understand what you mean by truth when you're saying. So
being present, because from what I heard you say is by being present, right?
Correct.
And how do you get anything done? Isn't it by being present?
Correct.
Right.
Well, you can get some, like, when I used to work for government and stuff, I used to wake up in the morning and kid you not, this was so interesting. There's a day where I realized that what the heck, what is this life that I'm living? Because I drove from home to work, got to work, and I didn't even remember the drive that I drove. That's how scary it was. That I've driven the same road consistently so many times, and it's become so mundane that I lost awareness of even where I was. Like I drove, I got to work, but I don't remember that I even drove.
Right.
Driven.
So that's why I said, Joel, like, do you believe we fall in and out of life sometimes, and we fall in and out of truth sometimes as well? So in the days that you don't feel like you're in love, or in the days that you don't feel like you're within truth, you still have to do whatever it is your objective is, right? So that's why I'm saying, like, even days that you don't feel like you're in love, you still have to do it. You know what I mean? So the skills that we got given naturally, we have to do it regardless of what state we're in at the moment. You know what I mean? That's why I'm like self-love. I'm not really like, you know.
So,
because some days you're not going to love yourself.
If that's the case, what do you reckon the purpose of emotions are?
Emotions are basically ways for us to sense our environments, and even sense to also create memories as well. Because I don't know, maybe for you it's different, but memories that get stuck with us are usually emotionally attached. And things that we don't have an emotional attachment to, we kind of forget it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a way to create memories.
It is. There's a formula that says memory is information times emotion.
Yeah.
So when you times an emotion, information, you times about emotion, then you get a memory. And I 100% agree on that. From both of us coming from, I don't know, Congo, you might say third world country.
Yeah.
And then you traveled from all that, came to Australia. What do you think is the difference between the life you had in Africa and the life you have in Australia?
Honestly, internally, nothing. Internally, nothing, because here's an interesting story, right?
Yeah.
This red jacket that I'm wearing, red and black jacket.
Yeah.
At the age of 3, I don't know what was the thing with the age of 3. I think because I was highly vulnerable at that time. I remember my mom used to get a photographer to come take pictures of us once every month, and we didn't have mirrors in the house, so photos was my way of identifying how I look like. And we had like really good clothes and all that. And I remember my older brother had this leather jacket, this red and black leather jacket.
Yeah.
And I was so emotionally connected to this thing. I felt like, I really need to have this, right? Yeah. So internally, I've always been the person who adores creativity and design and all that kind of stuff, and that has never changed. And that's always been my safe place.
Yeah.
That's where I retreat to. So in terms of an external life, obviously things have changed, but we know that our internal life affects the way we look at the world, the perspective. So
correct.
In terms of that didn't change, but the external stuff, yeah, it did change for the better.
I'm just thinking about your designer journey. Just 70K followers. How did you get there?
I got there just having fun, man. I remember when Instagram first came out, and I was like, what is this app? You just take pictures and you put it up, and it took me straight back to my childhood, like how much I valued like photos. I don't know. Like I really don't know. I can't explain it, and that's what I'm saying. Like some things are beyond understanding, right? And then I used to just take pictures in the backyard. I used to actually wear my older brother's stuff, and this was in Melbourne.
Yeah.
I used to wear my older brother's stuff because I believed at the time he had better style than I did. And just for fun, I'd get a camera that my dad bought, and I'd take photos and then post it up constantly. It got to a point where brands would just randomly email me and say, "Hey, we've got a few pieces of clothing that we'd love for you to actually wear. Here's the budget. Would you be willing to, take pictures in these clothes?" And for me, it was like, yeah, 100%. Why not?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's how we all started.
And that's how it all started. It's just by playing. Yeah.
It all started by playing. How many people do you reckon make it in life because of playing?
I feel like everyone.
What do you mean everyone? The notion of career, right? Let's talk about career. The notion of career is work there. You gotta work real hard to make it, to be successful.
Right.
So and you was telling me about playing.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, if you enjoy something, obviously in the professional field, you've got to call it work.
Yeah.
But when you enjoy something, you can work overtime and you won't feel it. And that's how you surpass whoever is trying to, see it as work, basically. You get what I mean? So if it's something that comes to you naturally, like for example, for you, Joel, you're very good at like understanding forms of psychology and stuff like that when it comes to having conversations. If someone goes and studies that, but they're not interested in it, and they go out into the workforce, they're not going to be able to surpass you because it's not that gift, it's not that calling. But for you can do it whatever you want to do. You can turn it off and on, right?
Correct.
So it's like play, basically, because it's easy. It comes easy and naturally to you, right? So it's kind of like a playful act. But obviously, when you do get older, you have to kind of take it more seriously. There's times where it's not fun and you still have to do it. You know what I mean? But it actually began from playing.
Well, I watched the story of Usain Bolt and how he became who he is, and his early days, he was coming out last in the race. He was struggling to make cut. What do you say to that? Like even Michael Jordan, he didn't make the cut early on. What do you say to that? Where's the gift in that?
Well,
where's the play in that?
Well, for Michael Jordan's story, I remember he loved playing sports. So it was always in sports. He had a competitive nature to him, but he always loved playing sports. It was a playful thing for him. Usain Bolt, I don't know his story. Maybe he did love playing sports as well. That's what made him. That's what helped him with the journey of continuously going. Because you do fail along the way multiple times, And for me personally, I don't even see failure the same way others do. I always go back to the notion that we all failed at the start of life when we started walking, right? You fall multiple times, and what's the thing that keeps you motivated to get up and continuously go? It's just natural. You like, I want to walk. Like it's so easy to think about. You know what I mean?
Is it natural though, or is it because of the environment? Like, think about it. Imagine you have a kid and the kid starts to learn how to walk and they fall, and then you're like, "Idiot! How you fall down?"
Right.
Like parents don't do that. Maybe the kids they have this motivation to stand up and walk because the supporting system is there. Maybe because when I know my friends that I've given birth not too long ago, and the kid is just learning how to walk now.
Right.
That kid finally stood up for the first time and everybody's like, yay, celebrating, and then the kid's falling and they're still celebrating the kid. Yes, well done.
Right.
But how many of the adults, you take a first step into something and you post your first video and people are like, rubbish quality, mate, improve.
Well, see, there's always gonna be critics, yeah. But the thing is, Joel,
you post it on social media straight away. The comment section, keyboard warriors are there.
I can't make sense of it because, like, for example, if a woman gives birth to a child and leaves that child alone, but there's food and everything like that, is that child still gonna try and get up and walk, or do they need the support system to get up and walk?
Well, at the early stage of the infant, they need support, 100%.
Like
a newborn baby?
Yeah.
Oh, 100% they need support. They can't survive without their mother. But I don't think so.
But if there's someone there, like there's food and all that kind of stuff, like you don't think naturally they'll want to learn how to walk?
A newborn baby?
Not a newborn baby.
Shalugu.
Like, a newborn baby can't walk, bro. Come on. A newborn baby can't walk. I'm saying at 1 year old, is 1 year old, 2 years old to start walking.
Okay.
I think that desire going to be there without anyone trying to support them.
I feel like at that age the kid would just cry themselves to sleep
and not walk.
And I don't know, maybe at 3 years old, yeah, you walk around trying to look for food, try and pick up anything and eat anything off the ground.
You walk around, yeah.
Yeah.
The desire to get up and stand up and walk is just naturally.
Once they can walk, yeah, 100%, it's naturally there.
It's naturally there. So human beings all want to walk like since they're kids, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, when it comes to like a gift that you were born with, you just naturally do it, regardless of the doubts and the critics and everything. It's just in you, and no one can really stop it. And that's the huge jerk on all the critics because of that. Like, no matter how much they do that, because that's a reflection of themselves, they're trying to find themselves within you, and they see what you're doing. They appreciate it, but they don't know how to kind of voice that. So what's the first thing they do? They put you down because they haven't figured themselves out yet.
There's a quote that says, you will never get criticized by somebody doing better than you.
100%.
Always someone doing less than you. You believe in that?
100%.
Why?
Why? Because that's the truth. Have you ever got criticized by anyone doing better than you?
Someone criticized me. Nah, no one.
Well, it must not be doing better than you, so 100%.
Actually, that's, it's true. I believe it. It took me a while to actually believe it, but I believe it now. That people doing better than you know the hustle, know what it took to get there. And so when they see you taking that first step, they can only say positive things. Unless they're trying to stay on the top of the market.
Well, I don't know about that, Joel, because
then there's a form of jealousy, surely.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, I've had great mentors along the way that I did not predict. It just kind of happened. From teach my visual arts and design teacher at university from New York. From Lars, who did creative direction for Comme des Garçons and Da Vinci, which are huge.
Da Vinci?
Yeah?
You said Da Vinci?
Da Vinci.
Da Vinci.
Yeah.
That's a big brand, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sounds fancy.
Yeah, bro. And also, I had Bettina Liana as well. Huge. She was
Italian.
huge in New York. Yeah.
Ooh.
She made the jeans and Barbie the doll. Like the jeans on Barbie was done by Bettina Liana, right? I came across these people and they just wanted to teach me. Like, I didn't ask them. Like, they would be like, here's my number. Whenever you want to call, just let me know.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So I never came across someone who's above me who wants to stay in that spot. They know that the workload is unbearable. And if you're willing to accept it, I'm here to help you get to this level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They understand the truth. So anyone who's so quote unquote above you and putting you down, they're not above you, because you can't put down, you can't what's called criticize someone who's underneath you, because all you can do is motivate them and let them know the truth. Hey, it's not going to be easy.
What about jealousy?
Jealousy, yeah, it can be there, but if you know, Joel, like you've gone through like setting all this stuff up and also your whole journey.
Yeah.
Have you gone through aspects of suffering and pain?
Aspects of suffering. Suffering to me is a topic that I still haven't fully digest what it is.
What is suffering to you?
That's what I'm saying. I still haven't digest what complete suffering is.
What about pain?
I know physical pain. I know physical suffering. Here's the theory. I have on suffering. I feel like life is seasonal, right? And there's a time to be still.
Yep.
There's a time to move.
Yep.
There is a time for acceptance. There is a time to observe. And I almost feel like suffering comes to us when the season is over and you don't want to move on. So for example, if I was in a season of letting go, right? Life keeps throwing things at me where I don't, like, it's testing me on whether I get attached to the situation or not. Someone takes my car away from me. I breathe. Let go. Someone does a certain thing against me. Let go. I don't get paid the money I should have got paid. Let go. And then that season might be over.
Right.
Right? Now, if in that season, the season it's supposed to be teaching me how to let go, and I don't want to let go, someone takes my car away from me, you're raging, you're finding excuse, And then the same situations keeps reoccurring until you finally let go. But then, later along the line, there's a twist. Now you're no longer in the season of letting go. You're in the season of claiming what's yours and knowing your self-worth. And then someone takes something away from you and you let it go. And then life will keep making people take things away from you until you're able to put your foot down and be like, all right, now this belongs to me, return. And you'll realize people return very quickly. I heard a story from this preacher. He said when he grew up, there's a story that happened in his school where there's a bully that was bullying a lot of the kids in the play yard. And he was bullying one of his other friend and consistently bullying him. And one day his friend had enough. And he went straight to the bully and he said, all right, now, I had enough of you bullying. Give my stuff back. And so the bully just took his stuff and gave it back. And the bullying ended.
Right.
And they all thought that it had to be huge drama before that bullying could stop. And it was a time for that guy to take action, and then the bullying had to stop. So without going any further, what I'm trying to say here is my perspective on suffering is almost as if it's a dance. Is you suffer when you're not willing to dance with life. When dance puts a particular song, it says, okay, here's the music, this music you shuffle. This music you do dombolo, you dombolo. This music you do this, you do this. And then when you choose not to do the dance, I personally think that's when suffering comes.
Right. Can you predict all the steps that are ahead of you though? When you're in terms of like dancing?
I think you can be in tune with what's going on if your energy is not taken by other things around you. I think the problem we have now is that social media takes our energy, relationships take so much of our energy, work takes so much of our energy. So how much of our life are we in tune with life?
But isn't it all part of life though? Being around others?
It is, but it's a dance. It's like when there's a time for the sun to rise, there's a time for the sun to set.
Yeah.
It's a dance. You need to know when the sun is rising, when it's setting.
But how about like the whole thing of like there's great prophets in the past that went through suffering? How do you explain that? Because they reached a level of spirituality where they understood the dance, but they still went through suffering.
Knowing the process doesn't exempt you from the process.
Right.
This is another thing people don't realize. Knowing the process doesn't exempt you from it. All it does, it gives you a peace of mind. Yeah. I think there's a verse in the Bible that says that I think it's in James, and I'm not sure how it quotes, but I remember I read it a couple years back, and it says something about knowing that the going through the suffering, whatever, produces faith, and so what I got from that verse, I'll find out what the verse is and put on the podcast later on, but it's something about going through this whole process and going through the suffering would produce the faith that you need necessary for whatever you're about to go through in the next phase of your life.
So suffering is a thing that we all go through.
Correct.
Right.
I'm not saying suffering, we should avoid suffering. I don't think you can avoid it.
No.
I'm saying it's still happening because we're dancing. Because at the end of the day, what is the process of life? What is this journey we're going through? Is it not to elevate ourselves to a higher self?
Yeah.
If that's the dance, that at the end of the journey, if you started at zero, at the end of the journey, you want to elevate yourself to a higher state.
And what is the higher state?
I don't know. Different people have different names for what this higher state might be.
What is your definition?
I don't have a name for it.
Okay.
I used to call the higher state God, but I realized there's too much misconception when you use that word God.
Right.
But one thing that I do know is the higher state lives within me.
Mm-hmm.
And
something beyond the physical? Is that what you mean?
Well, there's two things here. Yes, we can look at the higher state through religion and say it's what we call the spiritual, and the word spirit just means breath.
Right.
And so everybody has.
By the way, I like that. Yeah, you told me that on the phone when I was in Morocco, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good one, man. Like breath, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yes. So we can look at it from a religious point of view, that the highest state is the spiritual state, and we need to stay in the spiritual state where we're not contained by some physical matter. But then when you actually start watching the whole entire thing again and again, it's a funny, it's an interesting dance, right? Where if you did, physical was the one level, the soul was another level, the spirit was a level above it, and then once you get past that spiritual level, then everything becomes spiritual.
In terms of your perspective, is that what you're saying?
Not only because of perspective, even the physical matters are still spiritual.
Right.
Because what is physical that is not spiritual?
Yeah, because everything's vibrating at a certain
Correct.
frequency.
Everything's vibrating and nothing is still.
Yeah.
So it's almost, I think the best way to look at it is through lens. When you look at the world from one lens, you see one thing. You look at it from another lens, you see another thing. But the higher you keep going, you keep realizing that everything just is.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem we have is labels. The moment you start giving things names, you're kind of boxing it. I think maybe that's why the Bible says, make no graven image of God.
100%.
Because the moment you have a graven image, you kind of box it.
Yeah.
If I know Hervé and say Hervé,
yeah, I was gonna say Hervé, yeah.
See, the English is killing me,
Hervé, man. Yeah.
So if I know you, I see you as a designer.
Yeah.
It's very easy for me to box you as a designer, nothing more than that.
100%. But what would you say? You just gave me a name as well, right? I've got a name. Isn't that a way of boxing me already?
Yes and no. Because yes, I can call you a name, but I don't have to get attached to the name. I think the game is the attachment.
Maybe it's the way we identify ourselves. Like we like to. It's part of the ego, obviously. The ego is a form of a wall we put up for insecurities, right? Because we don't want people to see us completely for who we are. Right, so we use these things to identify ourselves and separate ourselves, like tribes, and even the story about Babylon as well.
Yeah.
So we use that to distinguish tribe from tribe, person from person. This is mine, this is yours, kind of thing. And I feel like this has been happening from the beginning of time. You know what I mean? And even when it comes to genders as well, like this is a male, this is a female. This animal's like this is this animal and that's that animal. Like. At the end of the day, it's all part of one living organism, but we need to name things like, for example, Adam had to go out and name all these different things, right?
Yeah.
Why did he have to go out and name them? And he was instructed to go out and do that.
It's necessary.
Yeah.
For us to coexist, 100%. You have to have a name. If not, I'm talking to
There's languages like that. There's languages like that, by the way. Sorry.
You don't like.
Yeah.
What's the name of that language? I actually don't know what the name is.
Khoisan or something? It's from South Africa.
Oh, it's actually a South African language. Yeah, right. But going back on the topic, like, there's purpose to everything. But I think the problem we have is that we are using things outside of its purpose. Everything is being used outside of its purpose. Then that's what creates chaos. So there's a reason for a table.
Right.
And when it was invented, it had its purpose.
Right.
When you were created, you had your purpose.
Right.
When I was created, I had my purpose. So everything serves its purpose. A hand has a purpose. Eyes have purpose.
100%.
If the table is created for a purpose and it's not used in its purpose, it gets abused.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And the thing is, you look at the foundation. What is the table for? You put things on the table. What you choose to put on it, it's basically free will.
Yeah.
Right? We're created as human beings to serve each other. Without each other, there is no world, right? Because if I don't have food, I can go to the supermarket. There's a clerk's person who's going to serve me food.
Yeah.
The farmer produces food for that shopping center. So we're here to serve each other. But how we choose to serve each other, that's the free will that we have. So
do you believe in free will?
100%. That's why there is.
You think free will exists?
Yeah, 100%.
How?
100%. Like I choose to put my hand on this table. I can put my hand on this table right now.
So where does God play in that?
He gave us the will the free will and to see what we want to do with it.
Then what is your take on predestination? And when people say everything was done before the foundation of the earth?
Yeah, you can choose to follow what you were destined to do, and you can choose to go the complete other direction.
And so, are you a big believer of if you choose to not follow and go the other direction, there is a place called hell waiting for you?
It's in here in the physical right now. It's that mental torture, right?
So your definition of hell is mental torture.
Mm-hmm.
And there
you
is
wake up in the morning, you don't want to be here, all that kind of stuff. So you're suffering inside. And I've seen people who were extremely paranoid and stuff like that as well. Like if you sit down and talk to them, they'll tell you they're going through pain. Just for example, there's people who have careers and they earn a lot of money, but the way they earn it creates a lot of enemies. And I'm talking about like people who create wars and stuff like that, make money out and profit from wars and stuff like that. They don't sleep at night. They know what they're doing, killing millions and millions of people and stuff like that. So even like we were given the ability to serve and have money and stuff like that, but you have the free will to do it the way you want to do it. You know what I mean? And the way you choose to do it, there's consequences, the cause and effect. The consequence, I think that's where heaven, hell, all this stuff.
You say people that profit off war don't sleep at night.
Well, for the wrong reasons. If they profit off war for the wrong reasons, yeah.
What's your take on what's going on with Palestine?
Terrible.
I know we might get cancelled, but you know what? I can cancel my own channel, man. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing, right? We're looking at like governments and how they kind of play their games, and all that games is not based on what's best for the people. It's the resources and things of that sort. Like, how much firearm can we sell to this country? Yeah. We're going to stir up the pot and make it seem like it's this person versus this person. But when you go in, even on YouTube, a simple thing as YouTube, you go in and you look at a documentary, these people have been getting along from the dawn of time. Yeah. But what do? They use propaganda, and then they use that to kind of fund the war, so they will sell the firearms, or a business will profit from that. And they do that with multiple countries, you know this with even where we came from, Congo. Yeah. It began. Like, it didn't start from actually the Congolese beginning. It came from outside, and it was influenced from the outside. A seed was planted, and that's where the conflict began.
This has me thinking, and I want to hear your opinion on this. All that suffering you're creating to other people, what do you gain?
You tell me, man.
What's the gain?
Power. Power corrupts, but while they're drinking out of the cup, the
power. Like, what power do you need? You know you can already influence.
To be saying that, hey, I can control the world. I can control when this person decides to die and when this person's gonna live.
And where is God in that?
There isn't God in that, in wanting that type of power. There isn't.
Yeah, but what is God doing during all that time?
So you were saying this before. After the physical, there is a soul and the spirit, right? Yeah. So if something does happen to your physical, and you were doing good deeds or whatever you claim to be good deeds, what's the problem if that kind of thing happens to you? If your physical gets, in short, you get killed, right? Who cares? If you know, like, where you're going from here is not going to be as, it's not going to be as controlled, by other human beings.
Where you're going from here?
From this earth.
Where are we going?
I don't know. In the place that is not controlled by other human beings.
So, what's your take on that word, heaven? If your meaning of hell is suffering through the human body, then what is heaven?
Liberation from all physical things, right?
Liberation from all physical things.
Yeah.
So it's what, a dimension? It's a plane where physical matters don't exist?
I can't comprehend it with my physical self. I can only understand that that's the next place to be, but I can't comprehend it. And it goes back to what I was talking about, the mentals. Like, someone who's above you can't put you down, because they understand you're going to go through suffering to be able to attain what you want, right? And as long as you're in this world, you're going to have to go through that. So if I'm going to criticize you, I'm not telling you, hey, how can I put this in words? Like, because they know what you're working towards is not what you think it is. Most of the time, you think you know what it is, like, oh, this is going to fulfill me, right? This physical thing is going to fulfill me. Once you get there, it's like, no, like, nothing has changed. You know, nothing changes. And that's what I'm saying. Don't lose the aspect of play behind it. Because once you attain what it is that you think you want, nothing changes. So as a mentor, they know that. They know that, so they wouldn't put you down and be like, don't do it, don't do it. They're like, hey, when you get to this level, you're going to find out, but I'll help you figure it out. So when you get to this level, you realize, hey, I don't even need to be like stressing over this stuff. Like, it won't change anything.
So this whole journey of
Careers?
career or becoming better, even on the psychological plane and saying, hey, I want to become a better person, I want to become a better person, is it all just a complete delusion?
No, because becoming a better person helps the other person journey through this life. That's what that's the foundation of human beings. Like I told you, an economy runs if I can provide value to me. And I mean, if I can provide value to you or you can provide value to me. And it's not in a transactional way, but it's like if you're the best version of yourself, you're doing a favor for the world. You know what I mean? Because now you're valuable. It's like if we didn't have any farmers,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be able to eat because not everyone knows how to farm.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? Like that. So that's what I believe.
But for the world to function the way it functions, there needs to be people dominating or inhabiting different states. Sorry about that. So for one to be rich, another has to be poor.
Well, yeah, I mean, this happens on all different spectrums, even
Right.
in the animal kingdom as well. Pardon?
Right? You agree? For one to be rich, another has to be poor.
It doesn't
can't-
have to be like that.
We can't have everybody rich, can we?
What's
that word
the word?
ever
What's the
exist?
political word for it? It's like when they share the wealth throughout the country. I think China tried to do it. Communism.
Sharing wealth across the whole country.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what kind of job you do. You're gonna earn the same amount of money as someone who's doing something of lesser value.
Do you think that's functional for society?
That's what I'm trying to say. So when you're saying for someone to be rich, someone has to be poor.
Yeah.
That's very it's a very objective way to look at it. I'm trying to look at the subjective way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what we do, if you give money to someone who doesn't know how to earn money,
Mhm.
the money's going to go back to the person who's creating value.
Yeah.
Because that person has to go and buy something from them.
Yeah.
It goes back to the same hands. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's not that if someone has to be rich, someone has to be poor. It's just this poor ways of thinking, you know? That's what creates poverty.
Yes. So what you're saying is the distribution. How do I put this together? I can comprehend it in my head, but I'm trying to word it so
You can't even
the distribution of
money.
wealth
Yeah.
has nothing to do with, has everything to do with value,
Yeah.
and it has nothing to do with social status. It has everything to do with value. It has everything to do with if you provide value, money will gravitate towards you,
100%.
and if you don't provide value, money runs away from you.
Yeah.
And money itself, as an entity, almost
And
has
Joel,
a mind of its own.
And Joel, like wealth is not just money, man. Like peace is wealth. You know, a spiritual peace or peace in any form is also wealth. Like not being completely attached to material things is also a form of wealth. Like people who go and meditate in the Himalayas and stuff like
Yeah.
that. You can't come up to them and be like, "Hey, you need a Ferrari." You'd be like, "What do you mean I need a Ferrari, man? What am I gonna do with that?" You know what I mean? But in someone else's mind, that's wealth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So wealth is not just. That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like maybe this happens definitely does happen in every generation. We're looking at the transactions of where money is going, but not seeing what's creating that. You know what I mean?
You know, it's funny. I did a study on wealth a few years back, and the word wealth actually means well-being.
Oh well.
It has nothing
look
to
at
do.
that?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with
Joe,
money.
you were waiting to tell me that, and you can throw that bomb down on me. Yeah, wow.
It actually means well-being. So that's where we
Wow.
got the 7 areas of human life from. And so if I am wealthy, is I am in this state of well-being, and well-being it's broken down to the 7 states, which obviously physical health is one. Are you doing well physically?
Wow.
Health
Health is
mental
big.
and emotional health, that's another.
Yeah.
Vocational, so career-wise.
Yeah.
And career-wise is not about attaining the highest amount of money or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's about essentially playing that game you talk about.
Mhm.
Being able to wake up in the morning and play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joel, yeah, that's the one right there. This is Joel, everyone. This is Joel, ladies and gentlemen.
And then there's a social and relationship side of things, being able to manage people, and it's a bit of a dance. It's a dance. Relationship is probably the biggest dance of them all. And then financial one is just as important, but financial is I don't like the word financial. I prefer the word abundance.
Why is
Because
that?
abundance is more to do with the state of mind
Right.
than it is to do with what you acquire.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because lottery winners, right? They can win millions of dollars and they'll just lose it like that.
100%.
So what is finance, right?
yeah, 100%, 100%. And so if you're always in that state of abundance, I feel like money has a mind of its own. It always finds you. And it's funny. You might be thinking, oh, I need a car, and then you start saving up for a car, and then maybe the universe and God is saying, hey, you don't need to save up for a car. And then you had a deadline, and let's say you said, oh, okay, in January I need to get a car, and then you get to December and you're like, I still haven't saved enough for a car, and then someone comes and steal all the money from you, and you're like, all my savings for a car, and then you get to January and someone's, oh, I'm leaving and going to Germany. Do you want my car?
Yeah, there you go.
It's funny. It's so funny. So you still reach the same goal, but not the way you wanted to reach it.
100%.
That's a dance there.
It sounds like faith as well. Like faith is the understanding of that whole process, right?
Correct. 100% it is. And then
I'm gonna get a car regardless of what happens.
Beautiful. I think that's the hardest thing to say. To say that this podcast is gonna succeed whatever happens. It doesn't matter if the guests show up or don't show up. The outcome is already predestined.
There you go.
And so then obviously the family side of things is another part of wealth. Many people have great careers and have great jobs. They have great finance, but they go home to nobody. And that can get depressing. Going home to nobody. Having a mansion with 32 bedrooms, 54 bathrooms. What are you gonna do with all that? That could get depressing.
100%.
And so that's another area of wealth. And then the most important of them all is the spiritual. And it's really about belief.
Yeah.
I think
and Joel,
that's what
I just want to touch back on the whole family and relationship thing.
Do it.
When I traveled to Morocco, that was an eye opener for me. You know,
what did you see? What did you see when you traveled to Morocco? Talk to us.
Yeah, because I came here when I was 6 years old. I came to Australia when I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
And Australia is a not a melting pot, but it's a bunch of cultures into one. You know what I mean? So when you come here, there isn't really a lot of traditional things going on in community. It's more, how am I going to interact with someone from a different side of the world? Someone who didn't come from where I came from.
Yeah.
It's very multicultural, right? So you start losing aspects of community, family, and all that kind of stuff, and you're trying to fit into this abstract way of society functioning, right? But when I went to Morocco, because most of the people there are Moroccans, there's this sense of community that I have never came across.
Not even in Congo.
I mean, I don't remember Congo.
Oh, you don't remember this?
Yeah.
What about Uganda?
I don't remember much from there as well. And interesting thing about Uganda though, because I went to school there they call it P1 and P2. Man, I realized tribalism is a real thing in Africa as well. Like, because I was Congolese, I was treated differently. So they were like, you can't hang with us because, you don't speak our language and stuff of that sort. So I would be spending a lot of the time by myself. Or with
Isn't that
my
racism?
brother. I think it's tribalism. Because...
Hey, you're changing names now. I know the gist of what we quote racism is usually when the barrier is so big that it's like white and black, or that's when we call it racism.
But isn't race a social construct though? Because what is race? Because we're all like kind of mixed and entwined and all that kind of stuff. Like the colors black and white, those are not even our skin colors. Like, where do those things
I know it's pigmentation, and obviously the weather plays a huge part in that.
Right. No, I'm talking about even the colors black and white. Like, you know how right now with racism,
no one is actually black, no one is actually white.
Because I do creative stuff, so I'm like, where did these colors come from, and how did everyone just accept it? Do
you actually know where it came from? Who labeled colors?
Well, I mean, in America, when they were trying to liberate themselves and stuff like that, they wanted to kind of create a government system that could influence people. Because before in America, they had multiple governments, and they had also African Americans running the government system. Yeah. But they saw that they couldn't be able to win power or the party or influence over people if they didn't segregate themselves. Yeah. So segregation created more control. So if I say I look like you, so that means I have better what's the word for it?
Privilege.
intentions for you.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like that from the start. There was a mixture. It didn't matter where you came from or anything like that. It was your intelligence. But they realized if they could separate white and black, they could control and influence a lot better. Separate, divide and conquer, basically.
So then, when you arrive in Morocco, you realized that wasn't there.
There was some aspects of it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like heavy. Like it's like 2%. You know what I mean? But the rest, yeah, like I've never seen anything like it. Maybe because it's a religious country as well. So religion and spirituality is engraved in the tradition. You know what I mean?
Tell us about Morocco. What is your findings from Morocco?
My findings that human beings can live with what we consider little here. They can live with that and be happy and thrive in life. Wake up grateful and have a system that works. So I went there with ignorance, right? I looked up on YouTube and I thought I was going to go there and see desert and camels everywhere. You know? The same way they think about Australia with kangaroos and all that kind of stuff, right? But it's very modern and everything. And the system works. And people are like this. They understand the value of community. So every Friday they have this special dish called couscous. So it's a traditional cuisine dish. And they would sit together. Even if they're in offices, they would sit together and share a plate. And that was the thing. You walk around at a certain time, like around 2 p.m., you just see people sitting around a bowl and just eating together, even if they're in suits, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, they understand that this is what at the end of the day, you have to humble yourself and realize you're a human being and you're here to serve each other. So share. Even when you feel like you don't have much, just share. Like it's like a constant reminder. Every Friday is like a constant reminder to share with someone. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It's engraved in the system. But here, that's not what it is. You know what I mean? So that was an eye-opener for me.
Do you think the having that in the West would actually unite the people? And so we probably don't want to have that in the West because it's easier to control people right now because everybody's individual. The individualistic mindset, it makes it very easy to control people.
Divide and conquer always worked best for marketing. So it's easy to market to someone if they're alone because they feel emotionally attached to things they don't need.
Wow.
Because they're looking for human relationships, but they're identifying it as material stuff. You know, because they don't have anyone around them. So it's how do you psychologically separate people by telling them they don't need each other? You know what I mean? And like you're saying, putting them in labels and separating them and all that stuff, making it seem like one's more privileged than the other, and all that kind of stuff. Because if you look at extremes, like no one is really like super privileged just because of the way they look. You know what I mean? There's places you go to and you think the people that you thought were privileged are actually living a pretty hard life. You know what I mean? So your complexion doesn't give you privilege. You get what I'm saying?
Yes. I'm thinking about people listening and trying to believe what you're saying. That their complexion and where they're from does not open some certain doors for them. Have you watched that video where they've got all these kids lined up in a line and say, take a step if you grew up with a single mother. Cham. And they wanted, and I'll find it somewhere on YouTube.
It's because of the conditioning. That's why that happened that way. So the people who are dividing and conquering, they're conditioning people. So you're constantly under a condition, like they're making you go through this system, and your psychology is getting messed up, and this is why it's resulting, like in America, single mom households and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, all this stuff happening, like even in New York, like you know the history of hip hop where it started. It's because all the low income housing got destroyed, and people were trying to find ways to survive, you know, and so they started doing things to bring value. So hip hop became a thing. But then, like the drug lord, the people who were selling drugs realized that's the best way to move, you know, drugs and all that kind of stuff. So they infused that in the middle of that. And then, like, I don't want to get super political, but we know, like, importing and exporting, people who control the ports, who let things come in and things that they don't want to come in. They know this thing is going to be bad for people. For example, like, we know the Aboriginal community here.
Yeah.
Why do they have, like, liquor stores in the middle of nowhere? Why? Is it a sense of conditioning?
That's a big topic of its own. Like I've sat with so many friends, and looked at Australia, and looked at the indigenous culture, and looked at what's happened to the people. And I remember I went out to to outside of Palmerston here. There's one of the elders that I was very good friends with, and I sat with him, and he was saying to me, he said, everything that's taking place here is to rob us from passing down our culture to to the next generation.
Right.
And that touched me so much, man. He's saying the next generation has been taken so far from their parents and so far from their culture that it's becoming almost impossible to bring them back.
Joel, you know about missionaries, right? You've seen
Correct.
Rapid Proof Press.
Correct.
You know the missionaries that went to Africa?
Correct.
What are they doing? Are they not conditioning people?
You think they are?
Well, what do you think? They're telling you what you're doing is wrong and you should do it our way. But doing it their way separates you from everyone, like you just said. You shared that whole story with me. Then once you're separated, what do? You consume, right?
You consume alcohol, you consume this, you consume that.
You consume.
Those are all what? Escapes?
Yeah. For community. For connection.
And really, it's not the bottle people are after connection.
Yeah. That's why we're addicted to social media. It's a social environment, a false environment of socializing. It's an artificial environment for socializing.
Bro, you just ring some bells in my head. Is what we know people are so disconnected from their culture, so disconnected from each other. So we've created a fake environment for them to feel like they're connected.
Yeah. Fake environments, things, hoarding things to feel like, hey, this is me. I identify myself based on what I earn, not of what I can create.
So really, at the bottom of them all, bottom of all that, I think the only thing as humans we're after is truly love. To feel loved and connected.
Truth, yeah.
That's really all people are after, to feel loved and connected.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've come up with different
mechanisms
to
the ego, man. The ego has been built, it's been created to come in between what it is that we actually want. We're scared to communicate that. Yeah, I can't just say I want to be loved or I want a fun community. I have to present myself a certain way. I have to do this. I have to speak this way. Because in the corporate world, you have to speak a specific way to get a job or to climb the ladder, right? Yeah. Whoever created that ladder, right? Who created that ladder, So you have to speak a certain way. You have to present yourself a certain way. You have to dress a certain way. Why?
What's your take on this? This is funny. I was really pondering on this for quite a while. Last few months. Whenever I was meeting and spending a lot of time with a lot of the older generation, all they used to say, all they're saying really, is that your generation is lazy. And I sat down and looked at our generation. I said, is this generation actually lazy? Or is there a system that the older generation used to abide by that this new generation doesn't want to abide by?
Yeah. Is
that what's really happening? What's your take?
100%. 100%, man. Like, and we're evolving as well, right? For example, I remember like growing up, you're not allowed to be on your devices, but you see a lot of older people now asking you, hey, can you help me with this? You know what I mean? Or they'll be on it because they realize it's more efficient to operate on this, because these things are tools, but some people get addicted to it. They're just tools.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you don't use the tool will end up using you. So parents always want to protect, and sometimes that way of communicating that protection is kind of like criticizing you. You know what I mean? And it's like, are you going to work hard or work smart? You got to choose. Right? If working hard worked for you and your child thinks working smart is going to work for them, would you prefer your child to go through the hardships that you undergone? I don't know.
English is not our first language.
Would you prefer that? Yeah, exactly. We speak three languages. Would you prefer that, or prefer for them to live a life that you didn't live, but it's better? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like we have this subconscious feeling like, hey, if I went through struggle, you're going to have to go through, without realizing that you might be going through it as well, but just on a different level or in a different
the struggle
way.
might be looking different.
Yeah.
And we want everybody to go through the same struggle we went through.
Yeah.
Why is that?
To relate to them. You want them to relate to you. You want them to sit down and can be able to relate with them. And I think it's another way to say, hey, I want some form of love for my child,
Yeah.
for them to feel what I went through, compassion.
Yeah.
And the only way they can feel that compassion is to go through exactly what I went through, so they can be in my shoes, right?
That's actually perfectly well said. Now, you know what? There's some truth to that, 100%.
Like you said, Joel, everyone just wants to be loved, man. No matter the age. No matter the age.
Let me hit you with a banger question. This is a question that I want a truthful answer to this. When's the last time you cried?
I'm a man, Joel. We're not supposed to be crying, man.
Tell the truth, man. You said life is all about truth. Love is all about truth. Let's hear it.
Happy tears.
Now, when's the last time you cried?
Happy tears. Every time I feel a strong emotion.
When was the last time you cried?
The last time I felt a strong emotion.
When is that?
It was this year.
This year?
Yeah.
What happened?
I felt a strong emotion of liberation and gratification. I felt like I wasn't being grateful, and I felt a burst of gratitude. And yeah, that's what happened.
Is it okay if I dig in a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
When you say strong emotion, there's viewers listening and they're wondering what sort of things that brought you to that state. Are you able to elaborate on that?
Tracking my conversation and what I've been doing, and realizing, wow, I'm good. Like, I'm happy with this, you know what I mean? Not even just happiness, but I'm at peace, and I'm so grateful for what's going on right now.
And what's going on right now?
Feeling connected to God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I was to ask you the big question, do you currently feel fulfilled?
100%.
That's a big number. 100% is
110%.
Why?
Because I'm serving through my purpose of the gift that I was given. I'm serving through that. If I was serving through something else, then I'd be miserable. But I'm serving through the gift that I was given, and I'm feeling fulfilled. The gift being creating, and if you want to put a label on it, creating and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
Because you're serving that gift, and then you had this moment where you had a burst of emotion, with feeling gratitude that you are where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing. And those were happy tears. What about sad tears? When's the last time you encountered those?
This was before I went to Morocco, and I was like, I was sleeping in the office.
Really? You went
9
through a
months.
tough time?
It wasn't a tough time like that, because my brothers had a room for me, and I decided I want to go in the office and just focus on creating, right?
Yeah.
And I was asking myself, why is it that I'm living through what it is I'm doing, but I'm feeling disconnected? Because I was making it, like, on the outside it was looking good, but I was feeling disconnected. And it was consistent where I would ask myself, why is it that I'm feeling this way? But now I look at suffering, what people would consider suffering, as an opportunity to do something. You can't get to somewhere or do something without having to go through the test and the testimony, right? So now that's how I look at it. Before it was kind of like, all right, I'm going through suffering, I gotta stay strong or whatever. But I didn't see the purpose of it. I didn't see the purpose of that. Yeah, but now I see the purpose of it. It's part of the process, you know.
Yeah.
Like you were saying before, you can go through the dance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you were saying before, you can go through the dance, but it doesn't mean that you're not gonna feel those things. You can understand that you have to dance with it, you know?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you're not gonna go through it. Now I started to realize, okay, I'm aware of the dance, but I'm also happy that I'm going through what I have to go through as well. Not happy, but at peace with
That's a big
At peace with human life.
realization.
Yeah, at peace with human life, man.
That's a huge realization.
Because, Joe, we're not going to be here for long. Let's just be honest. We're going to die. We're all going to die. Everybody's going to die. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What do we leave behind?
Legacy,
No.
connection. I don't know what do you like. What are you trying to leave behind? I actually don't know what people are gonna think of me when I leave. And
A pain relief. A relief of pain.
I don't see it like that.
So, like, for example, if we just go back to the simple things, people who create tools, whoever created the table, obviously a bunch of different people did it at the same time. But what they created something that we could use to ease the pain of whatever we have to go through, right? You're just living something, an antidote for less pain. That's what you're leaving behind.
That's an interesting way of saying it.
Like, I don't want to leave behind legacy. I don't want it.
Well, isn't that the legacy? Is whenever you touch somebody's soul to the point where you've impacted their lives.
I thought legacy is like family lineage or something like that. That's what I thought legacy was.
I don't think you can get to a stage of any form of legacy unless you impact people. Right? Because if the people are the one that's supposed to remember you, if people remember you, you obviously impacted their lives. Whether it's positive or negative.
Would you say Jesus left a legacy?
He definitely did. His name is everywhere.
Alright, if that's legacy, yeah, then I definitely agree with you. I thought it was that it had to get passed down just like through the bloodline.
Well,
because that's how a lot of people tend to view it.
If that's the case, then people that are in the Amazon that nobody knows about have never left a legacy, because it's just between them and nobody knows about them. The way I measure legacy is through impact.
Okay, that's interesting. That's a good way to look at it. I think
it's through impact.
Yeah, I was looking at it from a different lens.
And if we're all one in the true sense of it, then you're always impacting your family.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we all need each other.
Yeah.
And you're always impacting your family. And so if you were to come into this life, have a big enough impact that, and it doesn't have to be like massive.
Yeah, just even one person.
Yeah.
You don't know who you might be helping out, and they might be the person who goes and helps everybody out.
True.
Right? So
True. It's still your legacy. Yeah, it's still your legacy.
100%. So while we always looking to leave it for a lot of people, it might be just that one person, that spark through that one person, and that one person becomes,
maybe it's the ego.
100%.
And the ego is saying, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
Look at how many people I impacted.
Yeah.
Look at how many things I did.
Yeah.
Because Jesus didn't try to impact the mass. He impacted 12 people.
Yeah. Oh, wait. There you go.
And then 12 people impacted the mass.
Yeah.
And now he's known as the one that impacted the mass.
Yeah.
He really just spent time with 12 people.
Uh-huh. So would you say like even when it comes to parents?
And a couple of girls. There's 2 women.
2 women?
Yeah. I can't leave out the women. They were there.
100%.
Hey, inclusivity.
You've got to. It was going to take me to a whole relationship thing, right?
Yeah.
Like marriage. People think marriage is the way you manage your kids. It's the relationship you have with your wife that matters. If you can impact her, the whole family is impacted. You know what I mean?
There's a saying that says this. It says, if you want to find out the problem with the world, you look at separate continents and the problems they're dealing with. If you want to find out the problem with the continent, look at the individual countries and the problems they're dealing with. If you want to find out the problem with the country, look at the families and the problem they're dealing with. If you want to find out the problem with the country.
With the family?
Yes, jumping. Yeah, let's go from family. I'll start again. Ready? I'll start again. There's a saying that says this: if you want to find out the problem with the world, you look at the different continents. If you want to find out the problem with the continents, you look at the individual countries and the problem they're going through. If you want to find out the problem with the country, you look at the families and the problems they're going through. If you want to find out the problem with the families, you look at the kids and what the kids are going through. If you want to find out the problem with what the kids are going through, you look at the mother and look at what she's going through. And if you want to find out what the mother is going through, you look at the father and you see what the father is going through. You understand. And if you want to find out the problem with the father, you look at his relationship with God.
Wow.
And that should answer all questions.
There you go. Joel has solved it.
I haven't solved nothing.
No, that's real. I mean, it does make sense, you know, that usually if you want to see how countries get being governed, you also look at the household, because even the person who's governing the country has a family.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They're not governing from, even if they're governing from the mountains, there's someone there with them. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So human relationship is a reflection of our way of living is a reflection of our human relationships in that specific country or area or whatever.
Let me just hit you with this question.
Mm-hmm.
Romantic relationship, dating right now, is it a scam?
Hell yeah.
Oh, damn.
I said hell. Because it's hell.
Is marriage even still a thing? Should marriage even still be a thing?
It's still a thing in parts of the world. That's why in Morocco, it was just wow for me. Like, these people see it as a normal thing, but I come to Australia, it's not taboo, but it's very abnormal, you know? So it's like your environment plays a big part on what you think is happening in the world. So sometimes you think what's going on in your environment, that's what's going on in the world, but it's only happening in your little area of the world, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, so you got to be mindful of that as well. And social media or news tends to make it seem like whatever's happening in a small part of the world is happening everywhere. But it's not like that. Because the world is pretty peaceful. If you walk outside, there's no people screaming and stuff. Obviously, there's some places
The
in the
media
world like that.
makes it sound like everywhere is screaming, everybody's in pain everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's not everywhere.
It's not everywhere. It's actually, there's less places, there's little violence and more peace in the world. But it's being, what's the word?
You mean there's no more peace than violence in the world?
Yeah.
But only violence is being put on the media?
Yeah, it's being promoted.
Wow.
Negativity is being promoted. And positivity doesn't get the spotlight. And it doesn't need to. You don't need to defend the truth. It's always there. The objective truth.
But don't you think if they had put some positivity on the news, it would change the programming in people's mind? It would change the scarcity. It would take fear away from people.
Well, Joe, we did talk about like dividing and conquering, and how that helps influence power.
Yeah.
So people who are looking for power, that is not a good thing for them, is it? And they don't sleep. They work overtime.
Have you met one of them?
How about maybe I've come across a few, but yeah, I've never sat down and had a real conversation with them. They wouldn't even give me the time of day. I don't
Well,
think.
if you know somebody, recommend them to me. I want to sit down and have a conversation with them.
Right.
And find out what's going on through their mind. I want to discover them.
Right. Do you think they live a life of transparency or secrecy?
Probably secrecy.
So
But
you know what cults are, right?
where are we going?
You cults, the Freemasons and all that kind of stuff that signed the independence of America. There was a bunch of Freemasons on there, right?
Yeah.
So do you think these people want to go out and spread information and sit down with you and have a conversation?
No, you never know,
The whole
man.
society is based off secrecy.
You never know. In this day and age, relationships might break. Someone might be going through something, and people just spill.
Well, if
Once in a while, human nature always goes back to human nature. Is when they don't feel connection with whatever group they want to tell them. That's when you have things like Julian Assange, WikiLeaks and stuff. These are people that are probably were roaming around that circle and then find out some information and want to let the world know, and then they're in pursuit. Like the world is.
See, Joe, the thing is, like, I'm not even interested with these people. I'm not even interested with knowing what they're thinking.
I am.
Why is that?
Because I want to find out the full spectrum of what humanity is.
You know what it is. Extremes.
No. I think I know what it is. Because of how I grew up and where I grew up, who I grew up with.
Have you seen the movie Lord of the Rings?
I've seen one or two of them.
Right. So you see the concept of the ring and power and how it corrupts the soul and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And even if you think you might be able, like, you're just curious, it might even corrupt you just from being curious about it.
I know it's a bit of a dance, 100%. 100%. And my curiosity is not to adapt to anything that's happening or whatever
you know
they're
why
doing.
they're doing it?
Huh?
Is it to know why they're doing it?
I don't really want to change anybody. That's not the aim of this podcast. It's not to change anybody.
It's to be an insight.
It's just to gain insight.
Right.
That's all. You come here just as you are, and you live just as you are. I won't give you advice to change your life. You do you.
Right.
Let me just find out what is the world. Maybe we can interview so many people that we can, I don't know, just
it's an open space.
Graph out the mind of the world.
Right.
That's my interest there. Graph out the mind of the world.
Right.
Why is the world the way it is? We have a lot of theories, but I want to question some of these theories.
Right.
Maybe we can have data that could back up some of these theories, and then we can say, hey, all these theories we've been carrying for 2,000 years, whatever, is false.
Right.
And then this data actually shows something much bigger than what we thought it does.
Well, I don't think we'll ever get to the level of understanding completely our existence. Because the Nobel Prize always changes. Like, someone will be like, oh, the atom is a matter. Then someone's like, oh, there's space inside of an atom. It just keeps changing hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's this thing we're chasing, this intelligence or this understanding? Does it actually exist, or,
Well, there's one way you can look at it. There's a saying that says, a knife cannot cut itself, fire cannot burn itself.
Right.
So the self cannot never be truly understood.
100%. And George, sorry to interrupt you with that, but that's part of my creative process as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't sit and dissect my creativity. I just do it. And it's hard to just explain to somebody, hey, this is what goes on in my mind. Like, I see like 3D dimension objects in my mind, like holograms, and I just know where A and B goes together. How do I know how they come together? I don't know, man. Like, subconsciously, I can just grab something out of my subconscious and bring it and put it on that hologram and then put it out into the world, right? So my job is not to try and examine it. My job is to live through it.
An expression.
Yeah, like life. My job is not to try to understand it, but to live through it. Obviously, there's techniques and methods to make it easier, but understanding it is a different thing.
But everybody's been given a different cup they have to drink from.
Right.
And that's one reality that took me a while to accept. That everybody's been given a different cup they have to drink from.
Right.
And so when you drink from your cup and you think everybody should be drinking from the same cup, maybe not.
100%. It never works that way. We see it in the world. There's so much diverse ways of thinking, right? And that's what makes it colorful.
Yeah. And the purpose and intention for people being here, maybe we don't fully know. Maybe we'll never know.
To see different aspects, to see the infinite of the human being, right? So like you were saying, imagine everyone just being the same. How would that work?
Here's one thing I hear a lot, is a discussion of, if God is so if God is so good, why doesn't He just make the whole entire earth happy, take away all problems?
Because then we wouldn't experience it. We wouldn't have stories. Like right now, we're having a conversation because of the emotions and the stories, the substance behind it. Just like if I was to create and say, I'm just going to use one color because I'm just creating an object. What does an object need multiple colors? Why can't it just be plain in one color? Because it needs it needs a personality, it needs characteristics. And life, the stories are filled with adventures because of what we go through emotionally. Things that we cannot control are usually the things that we value the most. And things we can control, we don't value them.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. But there's people listening to this that might hate you for this and say, all this suffering we're going through is just for the sake of it?
What do you mean, the sake of stories? The sake of character building? The sake of existence, for it to have substance? Have you ate food with no spices? Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, some people like that, man. Some people like that. That's what some people like, they like controlling everything and they go crazy.
Some of the vegan food, man, no, I can't do it, man. No, there's no flavor.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. But some people, like Joe, you said not everyone is the same, right? Some people enjoy that. So some people enjoy life where they can control everything. 1 a.m. I'm going to be here. 2 a.m. I'm going to be doing this. Even I'm saying a.m. because there's some people who work in the a.m.s, right? Every part of that day is section. It has a section of I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be doing. They have no room for life, you know.
Yeah.
And they just enjoy it. And who am I to come and tell them, hey man, like
I don't
you know,
think you can enjoy it. How can you be alive and have no room for life and enjoy it? I think that's contradictory.
I mean, that's the thing. There's some people who are.
How can you find peace in life if you have no room for life?
Right. And so our happiness is when we don't control it. That's true happiness when it comes out of nowhere. But if we can predict it, it's not true happiness.
What's your if that's your meaning of happiness, then what is fulfillment to you?
Fulfillment is understanding that all these things matter. To be able to play an instrument, you need different notes, right? To be able to seek, you need different colors to identify different things. So all these different mediums and all these different situations we go through, that is part of the fulfillment. You know what I mean? And you say fulfillment, I look at it as purpose. Fulfillment is purpose. I feel fulfilled in the purpose in which I'm living in, and which is creating. And it goes back to, like, for me personally, it goes back to God. God is a creator, right? I'm influenced by God. So I want just to create. Obviously, I'm just going to create human being things, right? God creates things beyond our comprehension, but I'm so influenced by him that I want to live just through creating. And what's the difference between the animal kingdom and human beings? It's tools. We create tools. Everything, our whole life, our whole existence is around creating tools, right? And that's why we believe we're more superior. We can take down a huge mammal or whatever through the tools that we have, right? So if I can create things, I believe I'm living through my purpose.
And so fulfillment to you is the accomplishment of your purpose.
Yeah. Creating tools. If we look at it on the basic level, creating tools.
You know what? You've been using God too much. So then, what's your take on religion? Is there a right religion?
Depends on the person.
What do you mean?
It depends on the person. For me personally, like, I see a connection within the three major Abrahamic religions. I see a connection in that.
Yeah.
But the other ones, I don't know. Right?
There's a belief system that says, or there's a lot of belief systems, but there's one that says that all religion are the same.
No, they're not. They're different institutions, different policies and guidelines. They're not the same.
At the core of it, you don't believe they're the same?
No.
Searching for the same thing?
No.
Really?
So what are cults, Joel?
Searching for the same thing?
Nah, there's cults that are out there for their intention is actually bad and they know it, and that's what they stand by.
He's a I was gonna say devil advocate, but that doesn't stand well.
It does not stand well. So, yeah. Yo, what are you trying to say, man?
Here's a theory here. Because if we believe that God resides within the being, right? At the end of the day, all beings are trying to rise to that state. They're trying to rise in that state where they can be one with God. I think Jesus' one of his final prayers was that he may become one with the Father.
Joel, you haven't seen people that say, "Hey, I want to be evil," like they'll actually.
No, I believe there is people that are purely evil.
Yeah, and they actually want that.
Correct.
Right, and they see it as a religion.
I don't disagree.
Religion.
I'm agreeing.
Okay.
I'm agreeing.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not disagreeing which side of the coin people take.
Right.
Right? Is the coin.
Spirituality, you're saying that everyone wants to reach a high level of spirituality.
Correct.
Right.
So even if the concept of the Antichrist, right, it's still Christ, but on a different facet.
Right.
Right? It still has the Christ, but it's opposite.
Yeah.
Right? So you're still trying to rise to that state.
Right.
You're still trying to rise to the higher state.
Yeah.
But think about it. One is rising to the state where you can control yourself to the high level, and then the power is coming from within. And the other one is more about the power being and the control being without.
Yeah, that's true.
So the Christ that we believe in is internal power. The Christ that someone in the Antichrist is what external power.
Right.
Right? It's still power,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just flipped.
Yeah.
So that's the theory. The theory is that everybody's still trying to rise there because there's nothing else to do. The breath, there's only one breath.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one breath. There's only one spirit.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one power.
Yeah.
It's the free will that gets people. Some people thinking, hey, I'm gonna utilize this power that's been stored within me to take it in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
Another person says, I want to take it in another direction.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like a story of talent. It was given to you. You didn't go look for it.
Right.
Whether you're in the cult or not, your breath was given to you.
Right.
You didn't wake up and create it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Your body was given to you.
Right.
Your mind was given to you. So what actually is yours? Nothing.
Yeah.
And so if nothing is yours,
Mm-hmm.
then at some point everything can be taken away from you.
Yeah.
Then you serve no threat to this planet, no matter what you do. Then even your free will can be taken away from you because it was never yours to begin with.
That's good. That's good, man. Oh man, that's good.
So maybe that's why God laughs. There's a verse in the Bible in Psalms that says he looks down and he laughs. He laughs because people are conspiring and trying to do all these movements, but really
They're going nowhere fast.
no one's going anywhere.
Uh-huh.
And there is nowhere to go because the spirit doesn't travel.
Right.
The flesh travels, the
Mhm.
spirit doesn't.
Right.
Omnipresent. It's here, it's now.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the core of it, I truly believe that everybody's seeking for the same thing. Is to
Oneness
elevate.
with the spirit.
Correct. Is to elevate.
Oneness with the
But
breath.
how they go about it, which is what you said before, is how you go about it.
Right.
That's where the choice comes in. Right?
Are you gonna hurt people along the way, or are you gonna help them get to where you're
Correct.
trying to get to?
Everybody's trying to eat. How do we go about it? Another stole from the shop. Another worked really hard and bought the food.
Mm-hmm.
Another tricked the cashier to get discount. That's the human nature. It's people are trying to take shortcuts.
Yeah.
And most of them, when we talk about even these theories of the Illuminati and whatever and all this stuff, it's shortcuts people are trying to take.
Yeah. 100%.
It's shortcuts people are trying to take to get to the top.
So they want to live that experience here in the now.
Correct. And that becomes a problem because there is you said very clearly, there is a process and there's a step that it requires suffering in order for you to elevate to the higher state.
Right. So you're saying there's people who want to be gods on the earth. That's why they're trying to do shortcuts, basically. They're trying to...
You know what's funny? The trick that the devil did, if you look at the story of Adam and Eve, the trick that the devil did on Adam and Eve, the reason why it's a trick is because they already were.
You already what?
They're already in that state.
Right.
He told them that if you eat of this fruit, you're gonna reach another state. But when you look at creation,
You're gonna be like gods, basically, right?
Huh?
You're gonna be like gods.
Yeah, but they're already they were created in that image to begin with. Mm-hmm. Think about
Deceived.
it. They were created in the image of God, and then he's telling them you're gonna look like God, you're gonna be like God. You're already in that image.
Right.
Like your natural state is it.
So we want to work towards things, yeah? We think what it is that we want is not present within us.
Correct.
We have to do something. We have to climb the ladder. We have to do this. And that's how we feel like, hey, I'm doing something because I'm climbing some ladder. But the ladder is a concept inside your head.
Listen to this story. You will love this story.
Right.
There's a story that I heard. It was from these two students. They went out to a monk. And they said to the monk, I want to attain the state of nirvana, which is like the higher state.
Right.
Right. And the first monk said to them, the first monk they went to, he said to them, he said, hey, walk through that door and there you are. You have it. They walked through the door and they're like, that's it? That's it? You're a scam.
It can't be that easy.
Yeah.
It can't be that
You're a
simple.
scam. So then they went to the second monk and they said to the second monk, the first monk just told us to walk through that door and we want to really attain this state. We really want to climb to the highest state and find God. And he said to them, no worries. For 30 days, you guys will climb this mountain. Every day you carry 40 kilos of this and 30 kilos of that. You walk through the bush. He put them through a bunch of suffering. And at the end of the 30 days, he came in and they came to him, Master, we've done the 30 days. And he says, how do you feel? And then we were beaten up, I were bruised. All right, now close your eyes. You're entering the state now. And then they're like, we feel it. We feel it. We're in it. And then he looked at them and he laughed and he said, you suffered for no reason. Whatever you're looking for, you always had it.
So it's like it also plays with this sense of connection. Whenever you're trying to find this sense of connection, you're already connected within yourself. That this whole I want to connect with people is also like I want to work towards that as well, right?
Yeah.
We're already connected. Why are we afraid of loneliness? That's one thing. That's a huge thing for me, right?
Yeah.
I'm a person who I enjoy being alone.
Yeah.
Right, and a lot of people are afraid of that because they're constantly seeking connection, right? And I'm already feeling connected to my being, and that's why I feel like this this river or what it's called, a waterfall of like creative energy is just flowing through me.
Yeah.
When I'm alone. And do you feel maybe that's another thing as well when we feel lonely and all that kind of stuff? It's also a false perception of reality because we're already connected.
100%. That's the trick of Adam and Eve. Is the trick that is played in our head every day.
Right.
Is telling you that you need to attain something else that you're not already. And I had a friend that told me, he said one of the reasons he hates sitting with himself is because of the amount of dark thoughts that will come rushing through his head. And people are afraid to sit with themselves. They really are. And when they do, they get bombarded with all these thoughts. And I remember telling this friend, I said to him, I said, what happens when you sit through it and not do nothing about it? Don't try and control it. Don't try and change it. Just be present with it. What happens? And he said to me, no way I can do that. No way I could sit through that. And we did some exercise, just practicing how to do so. And being present and just breathing through the experience. And he came back to me and was like, wow. I don't actually have to be attached to the thoughts that come in my mind.
Yeah, because not all thoughts are yours, right?
Yeah, I can listen to them and let them go.
And that's what for me prayer does for me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What does it do for you?
It detaches me from my daily thoughts and brings me back to, hey, those were just thoughts. This is what it is. You know, your connection. You're already connected. So all the other stuff is just things that are happening. Those are just worldly things that are happening.
Yeah.
You're already connected.
There's one of the guests that came in was a psychologist called Micah, and we talked about the theory of shirts and the different identity that we have to play in this life is like wearing a shirt.
Yeah.
And if you're tired of wearing that shirt, just take it off.
Yeah.
And people don't want to take it off because they think that
that identity is
it's
that
permanent.
Ego.
Yeah, they think it's permanent.
And that's another thing, Joel. Like going to Morocco, like obviously, like I'm not trying to make it like this place.
Bro, the way you're advertising Morocco, I'm going there. I'm going there.
I'm not trying to make it seem like this place, like you know, like you're saying a travel agent or something like that. But
in commission,
I should be getting commission from the king. Yeah, 100%. A lot of the older people, I don't know it's the younger people because you know social media and the internet is influencing everybody. But a lot of the older people, you see them dressing the same. Like there is not this thing of this is me, this is you. You know what I mean?
Really?
I feel like that's another thing of clothes. Uniforms. Like for example, when we wear uniforms, it's hard to kind of like be like, hey, this is me, this is you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we're all like the same. It's a way to identify a group of people, right? And for me, the older people in Morocco, they have this traditional clothes that they wear.
Yeah.
It's plain and everything, and it's not that hey, this is me, this is you. They have a orderly way of like of what would I say? How would I say? Of removing the ego. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Through the outfit.
It's through the outfit and through that way of life. The outfit is just a representation of that way of life as well.
Yeah.
You know, and in the West, it's all about individuality. And I spoke about this when I was in Morocco with a friend. Is that he's actually a math teacher who teaches at Oxford University. We sat
Really?
down and had a conversation like this with
Yeah.
him, and I told him because he's from London, right? That there's so much individualism in Western countries, and it's very celebrated. You know what I mean? Like celebrities, Hollywood. This is individualism on
Yeah.
steroids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there is no sense of like fulfillment in playing with this ego. You know what I mean? Because it's false. Like you said, you have this shirt on, and now you can't take it off because you've told yourself that's who you are.
Yeah.
And now you're stuck in your own cage, your own mental cage, right?
Self-inflicted.
Oh man, and there's no growth in there. There's no growth in that because even when you're tired of being this person, Jim Carrey spoke about this.
Yes.
It's like your spirit or your soul is saying, "I'm getting tired of playing this character, man. Like that's why I'm depressed.
Yeah.
Take me off this. I don't want it, right? Take off the shirt, man.
Yeah.
Wear a different color, yeah."
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like it's really interesting, and I found that when I was in Morocco because I spent a lot of time alone during that time. It's like, man, what is this whole ego thing, and why do we constantly need to feed it, right? And like you're saying, this delusional ladder that we create in our head that we have to climb, and everything that we need we already have it, is insane. It's
crazy.
It's actually insanity on another level. Like we should be in straitjackets. You know what I'm saying? It's real insanity. Like if you only think about yourself, you're like this world wouldn't exist because you need each other. Like I'm talking about the trading value and all that kind of stuff. So this idea of an ego and being this artificial self being celebrated, I don't know where it comes from. We all have specific aspects of it, but the use of it is pretty pointless. You know what I mean? You need it when you need to wear a shirt, a certain type of shirt in certain environments. Yeah, you need it, but to think that it's stuck on you, that's a whole different thing. You know?
That goes hand to hand with what I was telling you before in terms of the dance when it comes to suffering.
Right.
Is when it's podcast, wear the shirt. When you're going to work, wear the different shirt.
Right.
When it's time to sleep, take off the shirt.
Right.
And then when you have to shower, take it off.
Right.
Just being so fluid like water. I think Bruce Lee talks about it a lot. Being that fluid that you can take it off, put it on, take it off, and just adapt is the solution for suffering, I believe.
And are you talking about in terms of personality or character, or in terms of circumstances?
It's all the same. Because how you show up in the circumstances is according to the shirt you're wearing.
Right.
And the shirt is the identity. Right? You only do what you do right now because you believe who you are right now.
That's 100% true, and that's how I design as well. So when I design a product, I actually think of the environment that product will be in.
Yeah.
And what that person wants to represent in that environment, and that's what the design implements when I'm designing a product. So I think about the room, I think about the environment. It's like creating a movie, right? A movie, sometimes it's a environment that's not like it's created in order for it to tell a story, and that story might change the way someone looks at life or something like that. You know?
Beautiful.
So it's the same thing with the clothes and creating and designing. It's the same thing. Hey, what would this person want to represent in this specific time? You know what I mean? So.
Thank you, Hervé. We've had an amazing podcast here. You've shared so much insight in this podcast. I love it. I love this episode already.
And Joe, what would you identify me as, by the way? Because you're saying we have these labels and stuff. I'm interested since you have conversations with multiple people and stuff like that.
You had to hit me with this one, didn't you?
Yeah.
Nah, look. I have no attachment with people. I've worked. It took me a lot of years to have no attachment. Right, I let people express themselves to the higher self. So if you would come tomorrow and completely change, it wouldn't affect me, because one thing that I realized is that very thing is that when people feel like changing, if you put them in a cage, then they can't change, because that's how you see them. Right, and so the way I see you,
Joe, I didn't ask for an explanation.
No, I'm going to it. I'm going to
answer, man.
So the way I see you is right now. I see you as a very famous designer. Right, you very popular designer that's making waves around the world. I don't know why I see you like that, but I see you like that. However, if you don't show up like that, it doesn't matter to me.
Right.
Right? I'm not attached to that. Right? So if your Instagram went broke and you completely quit Instagram, you won't see me messaging you. Why, bro? No.
You know, I actually had this.
You
thing,
won't see me messaging you that.
I actually had this thing. I'm like, what if Instagram goes down? Well, what is everyone like? Because some people are on Instagram and their whole life is on there, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, when it goes down, what is everyone? If that whole system goes down, how will people look at themselves? You know. And I had to sit down and ask myself that question as well. Would I continuously be doing what I'm doing if that whole thing went down?
Well, if it's part of who you are, then the expression doesn't change.
Right. It's for me. I look at it as a.
The medium changes, but the expression is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Like I get you, bro, because I had the same problem, and until now I still have that problem. Like it's not a problem for me, but it's a problem for people, because some people see me with CEOs and be like, oh, wow, intellectual, entrepreneur, achiever, and then you see me on the Young Achievers Awards, and then you see me on
by the way,
doing
congratulations,
comedy.
Joel. Like
Thank
your
you,
achievements. Man. This young man right here, the amount of achievements Joel has done, you can't even begin to tally it all up because. I know it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of patience, and that's the reason why I want to have this conversation with you because I see you as someone who has objectives, and you're willing to work and put in the work to be able to like reach those objectives, and yeah, we're here to work, right? Like if there's no jobs or any form of like fulfillment through your work, everything would be boring, right?
100%, 100%. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. I try not to get caught up in that word job because the moment I think something is a job, I'm gonna do horrible on it. and 100%, it has to play.
It's
like
play.
Right now, interviewing you and talking and having this conversation, it's a play.
Yeah,
it's a play. And like, I came in when the state that I was in when I walked into this door wasn't the state that I'm in right now, and like luckily I had. My man Jacob, there's a cameraman. He got me to breathe. That does 2 seconds of breathing changed everything. I went back to my natural state.
Thank you, Jacob.
Bro, there's a reason we're having this podcast, man.
Thank you, Jacob. I was trying to get a hold of Joel. I don't know what this guy's been doing with his life, man. But I should appreciate it.
Just to finish it off, what I was saying is a lot of people have that problem because they see me on so many different medium. They see me doing comedy. They see me doing engineering. They see me doing robotics. They see me doing.
Joel, how are you feeling, man?
Good, bro.
Doing all this stuff. Do you feel fulfilled in doing all this stuff?
100%.
Why is
100%.
that? Why is that? Cross-pollinating, because you're doing a lot of cross-pollinating right
So, a lot of people, when they look at what I do, they think I'm doing multiple things. But in my head, I'm doing one thing.
And what is that?
So, when I used to be in a state of suicidal, and that's when I was about 18 or so, finishing off high school.
Sorry to hear that, by the way.
Nah, I hate when people say sorry. I'll tell you why. Because to me, that's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
Okay.
I am who I am because of that moment.
Okay.
And not pressing, not elevating suicide or anything, but that season to me is what revealed to me who I was.
Right.
And what my purpose in life was.
Amazing.
And what my journey was. And when I was in that state, I was trying to figure out the meaning of life. I was like, why is everything so trial and error? And I remember when I was just close to taking my life away, this voice started playing in my head. And it was so loud, so loud. And all he used to tell me is, Joel, give me one last chance.
Wow.
Give me one last chance. And not kidding you, like I had the rope on and everything ready to go. And this voice would not let me go. And when I finally listened to this voice, he told me to fast. And so I went out and got a book on fasting by this man called Jensen Franklin. And I decided to take myself in a 1 week fast. So 1 week, all I did was drink water.
Wow.
And I just read the Bible, read that book, read the Bible, read that book. And something happened to me on the third day. It was funny, so funny. I was reading from the book of John. And all I can remember is my head goes, wow, and hits the bed. Like physically, I'm not even lying on this one. Physically hits the bed and I zone out. And I remember I was in a vision. I was in a stage. And a man tapped my shoulder. And I turned around and he said, you want to know the purpose for your life, Joel? You were created for the people. And he gave me a microphone. And then he says, I turn around and he says, speak.
Wow.
And I remember the number, 85,000 people in the stadium.
Wow.
All waiting for me to speak.
Wow.
And that vision is the defining picture of my life.
Wow.
And every time I touch the microphone, 85,000 people always waiting for me to speak.
Wow.
And I knew I had to put myself in this. And I was telling Jacob early on, a videographer, about how this podcast even came about. 4 years I tried to put this podcast together. And it wasn't working. And then one day I'm here parking my motorbike in here, and the security guard, I've seen this guy maybe 3 or 4 times. He comes to me, running. He comes running to me. You have to do it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you have to do it. You have a gift. You have a voice. I see you on radio, podcast, something like that.
Wow.
You have to do it. I've never met this guy before.
Wow.
And I was in shock. And I knew, okay, if this guy's telling me this, then I gotta do it.
You can't get any bigger sign than that.
Done. And so going back to what I was trying to finalize, that everything I'm doing is the same thing. Like this podcast plays a big picture on what I call, so the name of the company really that's governing all this is called Reality Creation.
Yeah.
So Reality Creation has Reality Creation TV, which is media. It's all to do with speak. And then this podcast is all about speaking. And then the stage of it is what? Is my speech is all to do with one word, fulfillment.
Right.
Is how do I elevate people to the higher state, bringing them to the higher self.
Are you going to be going interstate with this as well?
100%.
You got to, bro.
100%.
You got to.
Yeah, we'll start home. Darwin is home, so Darwin deserves to get the first bit.
Right.
Thank you, Darwin, for having me. That's why you guys are getting this first. And so,
and you know, I find it interesting
Yeah.
with the whole fasting thing, because whenever you say something, it kind of like brings me back into what I was going through. I went through the largest period of fasting when I was in Morocco. The largest period of fasting, like, and you're right, man. Like, what it does to you, it's unbelievable. Because I was also reading a holy book. I was reading the Quran,
yeah.
and yeah, man. I mean, like, I can definitely feel like I can share that experience with you. Like,
It's crazy, eh?
removing yourself from worldly things, and fasting, and also turning to a scripture that will kind of help you guide you through
100%.
that,
100%.
and completely changed my life, man.
Yeah.
You know, so-
Yeah, and I already know it would have. It's you're becoming absent from the body and present with the Lord.
100%. 100%. Joel said, man. Joel said, you heard it here first.
All right, we gotta bring this podcast to a close, man. Now we gotta keep going, man.
Amazing.
But nah, yeah. So that's the gist of everything we're doing here. It's the same vision. It really is, and everybody thinks it's different things, but it's the same thing. It's the same expression through different medium.
Right.
That's all it is. And so because of that, it doesn't feel like work. It's never felt like work.
By the way, I spoke to Joel when I was in Morocco, so
Yeah.
Joel was there during my process, and we had deep and meaningful conversations
100%.
about that as well. So
I appreciate you, man.
it's great to see where you're at right now, bro. Like, I'm just saying, like, I'm.
Maybe
super
I'll bring
happy
this
for you,
podcast to
man.
Morocco, man.
Bring it to Melbourne first. Bring it to Melbourne first.
You reckon Melbourne needs it?
Bro, like, it's the most creative state in Australia in my eyes. They have a lot of people you can talk to down there.
But there's also a high lack of. There's also a high state of unfulfillment in Melbourne. Cause I was there for almost a year.
Yeah, well, Joe, are you there to find fulfillment, or are you there to talk to people? You gotta ask yourself, you know.
Me, I'm not there to find fulfillment.
Right.
Because I've got it in me. I'm trying to radiate this energy across.
Right.
And
They might need it the most. They
Yeah.
might be the
Who
ones who need
knows?
it the most. Go
but
where you need
right
it.
now, Darwin is where it's at.
100%, 100%.
I appreciate
We need you in
man.
Melbourne, Joel. We need
Nah,
you.
nah. Slowly. When I'm about to make a move, I'll let you know. But
Right.
I appreciate you coming today, man, and sharing all your knowledge. And you know, you're always in good fashion, huh?
Hey,
Striking
man,
it out.
this is my Congolese side, by the way, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, this isn't the blood.
Hey, let them know, man. This is your own design.
This is my own design, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't, like, I'm just gonna let the audience speak for, see, because it speaks for itself. Like, I can't go into, like,
Nah, for
details.
real. When we post stuff up, we connect them with your socials and whatever. If someone might want to order it, man. This is fashionista.
100%, man. I mean, like, for any type of occasion, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to sell nobody anything. If you feel this way, you can dress this way. That's all it is.
Nah, thank you so much for coming in today, man. I appreciate you. And man,
and Joe, I'm still thinking about that bike, right? The bike you're selling. So we're gonna talk about that.
Motorbike?
Yeah.
Done. All right, thank you so much for joining us.
Did it break down on you a couple times, Joe?
Don't worry, bro. Thank you so much for joining us on the Discover You podcast. We had fun. We had good chats. I'm with my boy, Hervé. Thank you, Hervé. Please
spread light.
To the camera.
Spread light.
There you go, man. We spread light. Discover You podcast. We're out.
The light is truth. That's it.
Done. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed our content, please follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and TikTok. And if you really want to support us, please support us on Patreon, Subscribestar, and Crypto. I personally want to say thank you to all of you that are following us, and I want to make a promise that if you follow us, if you subscribe to our channel, that we will keep producing the best, highest form of quality content to add value to your life and help you find fulfillment in life. Thank you.